Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
It's KFI AM 640, and you're listening to The Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
It is The Conway Show, and good afternoon. And to all of you who listen later on the podcast, good evening. Mark Thompson here for Tim on KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. I don't know why I'm in such a good mood. There's really no objective reason I should be in a good mood, but I feel very good, so feel free to bring it today. We've got the full Conway crew today. Crows, Tafoosh, Richie's here, Angel Martinez, Sharon Bellio. Yeah, so we've got a lot of collective good energy. Big stories, both Southern California stories and beyond, and we'll start with one beyond. Alex Stone is filling us in on what is a pretty major development at SeaTac. That's the whole cyber attack on the Seattle airport. Alex, how is this? First of all, hello, and thank you for being here.
Well, I know why I'm in a good mood. I get to talk to you.
Oh, my gosh. This is why you've done so well in our industry. But what has happened up there? What were the first manifestations of this cyber attack or this apparent cyber attack?
It was on Saturday morning that they knew they got the alarms began going off that somebody was in their system. This doesn't look like ransomware where everything locks down and they got to pay something unless they're totally not telling us. Because they're not being very forthcoming with what went on. But it looks like that they could tell that there was something funky going on and that they knew somebody had gotten in. And then, like, the bank robber had gotten into the lobby but hadn't stolen the money yet, they put all the steel doors down to lock everything so that they couldn't get in any deeper and couldn't steal whatever they were trying to steal. And as of a little while ago, the airport saying that they don't know who these guys were. They don't know what they were going after, and they don't know how deep they got and what they may have gotten. That they locked it all down, and now they're bringing in cybersecurity experts to try to figure it all out. But in the meantime, it means the computers at the airport, they are mostly down. People are finding it rough flying out of SeaTac or going through SeaTac, and if you fly on Alaska Airlines, probably going through there, but these guys trying to fly out.
They've only hit 10 people in front of us, 10 to 15 people, but it took us like 45 minutes to just get through 10 to 15 people.
You hear people talk about 3 hours or for an international flight. Today it might very well be that.
So, Mark, Alaska Airlines is pleading with passengers today not to check their luggage because they have to manually sort everything. The whole baggage system is down going through Seattle, and so you could be going through it, you could be starting there, you could be ending there, but they got to do it by hand. And then the airport is saying that if you are going through it, or if you're coming out of it, but if you're going through it and you're going to need a boarding pass to get onto your next flight, to have it printed out at home because electronic boarding passes may not work. You can't print them out there because all the kiosks are down, and the FBI helping out in this whole thing. But this is really the airport and the port police. The Port of Seattle runs the SeaTac airport, that they've got their own police department, that they're running the investigation, but they don't know at this point because they don't know how deep it went, how long it's going to take them to get everything going again. And one by one, once they get their cyber team totally assembled and they can analyze what's going on, they'll begin lifting things where maybe the kiosks will begin coming back online, then maybe the internet access at the airport for the public, and maybe the check-in counters, and then the screens that tell you the flight status boards that are there. But right now, a lot of that is down.
Oh, my God. It's like 1975 all over again.
Yeah, but without the systems in place to do it by hand, because everybody working, nobody was around back then, and nobody knows how to do it, so it's a mess.
Now, when it comes to carriers, which carriers are affected? I'm a little unclear. All carriers coming through and anything coming through SeaTac?
Yeah, so everybody's affected in some way, but Alaska Airlines the most because they have such a huge operation up there, and they've become a really big airline. You know, some people think of Alaska Airlines as not that big, but they bought Virgin America, and now they're working on buying Hawaiian, and they have become quite a large airline that flies all over the U.S., but also into Central America and into Mexico and the Caribbean and everywhere else, into Cuba. And so they're the most. The others, the airport was explaining to us today, is a lot of those that use shared counter space and shared computers. So like Spirit and Frontier and Sun Country, and where they're kind of just general check-in counters and general computers that these airlines swap, and then all the signage, all the screens change, and then all of a sudden it's Frontier, and then it's Spirit. And so they are more impacted than, say, United and Southwest, but everybody's feeling it. The thing that has worked has been the air side of everything, because the TSA has its own computer network, the FAA has its own computer network, so those are unaffected. So it's really getting checked in, getting your luggage handled. International flights are the biggest problem because the airlines have to input your passport and all your other info. They're having to do that by hand because it's not automatically in there because the computers aren't up and running. So once you get beyond that, then once you go through security, the boards may not work, the computers may not be up, they may have a hard time getting you actually boarded and scanning it. But the planes can communicate with the FAA fine. The pilots are able to get their dispatch data and their routing fine. TSA security checkpoints are fine. So all of that is up and running. This isn't like when Delta had the CrowdStrike problem a couple weeks ago where they couldn't get dispatch data and they couldn't get their routing, and then there aren't a lot of delays or cancellations. You just may not be able to, because of all the lines, get to your airplane, but the airplane's going to go.
So if you can get to the air, thank you, exactly what I was going to ask you, which is once you're there, aviation safety is not affected and flights seem to be running on time?
Yeah, for the most part, I think there were like 7 delays earlier today linked back to this out of all the flights at SeaTac. So that's not a big deal. That is all operating fine. The FAA, they've always got to be worried about cybersecurity. They're not impacted by this. But I'm sure if you're LAX or you're SFO or you're Denver or you're Phoenix, you're really looking at your systems today and thinking, how did they get in? And they know more than we know. So I'm sure they have some guidance on how these bad guys got in, and really locking down theirs to make sure that they can't get hit. But this is really a front-facing customer thing of the boards and the check-in counters and the website for SeaTac and the email addresses of those who work at SeaTac, and not so much, the baggage handling, but not the internal workings of flights pushing back from the gate and going to the runway. All of that is secure, so that's not a problem. But for getting through the front part of it of, checking in, scanning your boarding pass, all of that they're dealing with. But this is... they'll collect that paper boarding pass because a lot of times because of the computer systems, they can't scan them. So, it really is, we're going back. It's old school all over again.
It's wild, and it's a reminder that we've really got to step up our cyber game. This just happened with the CloudStrike a couple of weeks ago.
And they're tearing down Delta Airlines for many, many days. Yeah. Well, it also shows you just how reliant we are. Again, and we say this every time there's a major tech issue on internet technology. And think about at home when your internet goes down for 5 minutes, how we all freak out. I'm talking to you right now over the internet. There's so many aspects of it that our lives fall apart, this being one of them. It's like going back to Airplane, the movie, of smoking or non-smoking, and they hand them the smoking ticket today because that's where the technology level of SeaTac is today.
I've forgotten that moment in that movie. Good stuff. Alex Stone, thanks so much always. Appreciate the update.
Surely you can't be serious.
And don't call me Shirley, exactly. All the best, pal. Thank you. Alex Stone and the Seattle airport situation there, which continues to be an unfolding story that we will watch. When we come back, something unprecedented has happened as a result of the last 2 years. The last 2 years have done something in Southern California that has produced an unprecedented, these are the words of officials who say it's an unprecedented new scenario. And we'll talk about exactly what that is and what's caused it when we come back. Conway is away, but all of us other Conway kids are here.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. On Demand from KFI AM 640.
Mark Thompson here for Tim today. Great that you could stop through. Crows is watching that situation. The newsroom is watching the situation in Seattle. We told you about that with the cyber invasion that has affected flights there at SeaTac. But so far, it's essentially just thrown everybody back to, the Flintstones age of flight, where everything has to be handled with pen and paper, and it's become a slow-moving, I don't want to say horror show up there, because it's not that bad, but it's, I suppose if you're online, it might be, meaning waiting. But once you get to your plane, everything is moving as it should be. There's something else happening in Southern California, and it's quite bizarre in a sense, in that a region that has had total stability in terms of earth movement, and obviously with rains, with small quakes, with just settling generally, there is movement of the earth beneath all of our homes and around all of our homes. But what's happening in Rancho Palos Verdes is super widespread. I mean, certainly more widespread than, a house or two. And apparently there's a very deep and active landslide plain that was considered dormant for a long time, which is what's made this so difficult. And they did exploratory drilling this summer, and they found that this is a far more geologically active area than they originally thought. And they're saying this is an unprecedented new scenario for the city, which means we have to change our strategy. That's according to the Rancho Palos Verdes Public Works Director. So the result of what really has been 2 years of extraordinarily wet seasons, right? We've had rainy seasons the last 2 years. I mean, thankfully, we've had a lot of rain. But on the other hand, a lot of rain does create issues of all sorts, and land movement being accelerated is one of the issues. So we've seen all of this land shifting, and it's splitting homes and walls, and roads are having to be refigured. Utility lines are being busted, and there is a challenge to city leaders in Rancho Palos Verdes to figure something out. I mean, you've got obviously this deeper slip plain, as it's called. It sits about twice the depth, they say, of the previously tracked landslides, and that makes it, because it's an ongoing situation, and they're really just learning, it would seem, almost by the hour about the characteristics of this thing. It's a very tough situation to address immediately. So this is a complex of land movement, and geologists are looking at this, and a lot of residents in Rancho Palos Verdes are facing a question. I mean, you've got cracked foundations, leaking roofs, shifting floors. The LA County Fire Department, which serves the Palos Verdes Peninsula, says that it could take first responders more than 6 minutes to get to some of these houses because of the road conditions, which are challenging. So now, what's happened? Something predictable has happened. Residents who are caught in the middle of this, while looking for solutions, also do what? They file a lawsuit. They file a lawsuit in state court, and the lawsuit is saying local officials, including the homeowners associations in these various places, and the area's water provider, the county, and even the landslide abatement district didn't act properly. And that's led to an oversaturation of these hillsides, and that's created the landslide movement. Again, I don't know what would happen with this legal case, what's going to happen with this legal case, exactly who's culpable, I don't know. But city officials are obviously scrambling to try to handle this. They did vote to go ahead with a pilot plan to drill these vertical wells into the deeper landslide, trying to pump out groundwater because they think the groundwater is causing this land movement. So this is a bizarre and an unprecedented situation for people who've lived there for generations. I mean, this is a gorgeous area, right? the Rolling Hills, Rancho Palos Verdes area. So it's a scramble on the part of city officials, geologists. They're doing boring tests that, again, have uncovered this deeper geological formation that geologists really weren't aware of. So what will happen? Well, first of all, as they say, there's a court case that's being pursued. But what they're trying to do is pump that groundwater out and stabilize this land. And the general rate of land movement, just to put it in some kind of context, has apparently leveled off. But prior to that, the land was moving about 88 times faster than it was in October of 2022. So when you are measuring movement on the order of inches a year, now you're measuring it on the level of inches a week. This is a very serious situation, and you folks in the Rancho Palos Verdes area, I don't envy you. I mean, such a great area, beautiful neighborhoods, and now really something you have no control over. So, speaking of no control, man, tough situation developing in another Southern California neighborhood, and in a way, this is a brilliant, evil idea. It comes out of the world of evil and ripoff, but there is a level of brilliance to it. I'll tell you about that next.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. On Demand from KFI AM 640.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mark Thompson sitting in for Tim, who is away, and excited about a lot of stuff we'll be doing on the show today. Major developments in Southern California and beyond, and there's something happening in, I guess it's in Redondo Beach this is happening, but I'm surprised it's not more widespread, actually. It's a bit of, again, technological evil genius. You'll figure out why I say that as we get the details from Chris Adler. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Mark. So, yeah, the term that you just used, evil brilliance, you're right, because, you know, these QR codes that these scammers have slapped on to these parking meters in Redondo Beach, it's brilliant, but also evil because we use QR codes for everything, Mark. So what happened was a Redondo Beach police officer, off-duty officer, was walking the Esplanade there in South Redondo Beach, just before you hit Rancho Palos Verdes, that little they call it the Hollywood Riviera, and he noticed these QR code stickers that were not from the city, and so he called the watch commander and said, hey, what do you know about this? And so they checked it out, and when they scanned the code, it led them to a fraudulent website. So apparently these scammers at some point slapped stickers on about 150 meters in the Riviera, and now, the city contracts with two different companies for when you go to the beach and you have to pay the meters. So now, you know, you used to have to drop quarters in, but now they have credit card scanners where you can put your credit cards in, makes it much easier for people. And they contract with two different companies, Pay by Phone and Pay Mobile. Well, these scammers stuck these QR code stickers right next to the legitimate QR codes. And they're much bigger, Mark. So that would be the first one somebody would actually scan. And instead of going to paybyphone.com, it takes you to Poi by Phone, P-O-Y, Poi by Phone, and that asks for their location and their credit card information, Mark.
Wow. I mean, it is, I've done this. I mean, you know, the minute you see the QR code, you go, oh, this is great. And the other thing that the QR code does oftentimes is open an app. And if you have one of the apps, then you are able to, for example, monitor how long your meter has still on, if your lunch is running long
Right.
or whatever your appointment is. And so you can add more time. It's like it becomes a convenience on different levels. So
It's super convenient.
The notion of infiltrating that kind of convenience is sort of, as I say, there's a genius, but it really is a nasty, evil thing.
Well, the Redondo Beach Police Department, the captain there, Michael Martinez, told me today, he said, if these scammers would just put their minds to something more useful,
Right.
they would really get
we
far
could use
in
it
life.
at the police department. Right.
Well, right. And so anyways, this weekend they ripped all of those fake QR codes off. So far, they say that nobody has been, there's no reports of anybody being scammed, but they want anybody who feels that they've been scammed or received a ticket after paying the meter to contact the police department. But right now they're saying they haven't gotten any reports. But you know what? I was actually down there about 2 weeks ago. I go there quite often. I take my boys. We watch the sunset. It's our favorite sunset spot.
Oh.
And I don't remember seeing those on there. And I would have been the first person to scan because I'm always so busy, Mark. And it's right there. It's huge. I would have ended up scanning that one and probably would have, ended up paying. So I don't think they've been there long. He says, the captain said they think they've caught it pretty quickly. But, and just a month ago, Mark, the Alhambra Police Department was warning the public about fake parking tickets that were being placed on cars with QR codes. So, they're really targeting something that people really use, and we use this all the time. You almost need QR codes to even breathe nowadays. We use it for everything.
Yeah. And also the way in which they reach out to you. I just had it happen last month, I want to say, or maybe even not that long ago. Anyway, not important. The Golden Gate Bridge Authority or the Caltrans, whoever handles that bridge toll on the Golden Gate Bridge, reaches out to me and they say on a text, we have a record of your car going over the Golden Gate Bridge on such and such a date. And you're thinking, and it was like months ago, right? And I'm like,
right.
I don't know. I think I did. I don't know. And then I'm trying to verify from where this communication is originating, and there's no way to do that. This is a little like your QR code scam. And finally, what did I do? I just paid it. And I was, $9. I just paid it. So I think we kind of default to that path of least resistance, which is, just pay it, whatever. And I think that opens us up to a lot of scams, and you put a lot of that $9 or whatever it is, you put enough of them together, and that's a lot of money.
Well, yeah, and not just that, Mark. Once they have your bank information, it's really dangerous. So the police are saying it's best to use a credit card as opposed to a debit card that's linked to your checking account, etc. It's easier to get reimbursed from credit cards, and it's easier to shut that down than something that's linked to an actual bank account where they can wipe you out. And we really don't know what the plan was once they had the information, but it's kind of scary, and it makes you really got to think twice about things, save receipts, save transactions,
but
look
just
twice.
To be clear, the cops are saying you should use a credit card on the parking meters. You should always, they're saying that's a more favorable way to go.
Favorable if that's the option. I don't think that those in Redondo Beach have a change option anymore. I think it's just credit card. I could be wrong, but they're saying if you do use the card, it's better to use a credit card as opposed to your debit card.
Okay.
It's less risky.
When I was a kid, you had to find quarters and dimes to put into the. Now you kids with the credit cards, you just slip it through.
I remember my dad running up the beach to go. He's got, I got to put money in the meter, But it's changed things. But yeah,
that's wild.
It's crazy,
anyway,
Mark.
so all the QR codes though are down in Redondo, meaning they took the fake ones off, and now the ones that remain are the actual QR codes.
Right, and just if anyone's listening, the actual companies are Pay by Phone and Pay Mobile. Those are the only two that are contracted with the city, and those are safe.
Good stuff, Chris. Thank you. Chris Adler from KFI News.
You got it, Mark.
Yeah. Man, the scams keep coming. They're hatching new scams every hour. That's a good one, I've got to say.
Pay by Phone.
Yeah, exactly. Man, evil can be pretty clever sometimes. When we come back, West L.A. Everything's so great in West L.A. Not so much. A new warning. We'll tell you about it next.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
got a major development in Southern California neighborhoods to the point that we'll get into that next hour. But, on the subject of thieves and off of those fake QR codes that are ending up on parking meters in Redondo, it's wild to hear the sophistication and the trouble that a lot of these scammers go to. And listen to this. These are L.A. bakeries, landscaping companies those are two different businesses. There's not a bakery that's also a landscaping company. These are landscaping companies or bakeries are the two that are reporting a new kind of scam. And here is Stavush. Can you help me, please, with the... all right. And now I don't know why this isn't... it's up. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing anything. Are you? No. Okay. Well, it was a great idea. I thought elegantly set up, but then ultimately we didn't stick the landing. Sharon, do you have a thought? Or would you like to issue a formal apology? It's not really your fault, but somebody has to step up and take the hit. Want me to do it?
I'll take the hit.
All right. Thank you. Well, while we get that organized, I will tell you one thing that is coming back. Coming back just in time to be scammed. Kookaroo Chicken. They're talking about it coming back under new ownership. I know. I mean, it was 1988 to 2014. Back then, I was eating chicken. It was a great place. Salads, sandwiches.
Their sides were fantastic.
Exactly. And now they're talking about bringing the chain back. It won't fully return, they say, until late next year. But there is something called Chain Fest on October 5th, where there are a bunch of other chains and brands, White Castle, Trader Vic's, Red Lobster, and they will have a Kookaroo Chicken that'll be featured in that same crew. They run that event. It's a bunch of entertainment folks who do it. BJ Novak, Chrissy Teigen, and Tim Hollingsworth, who's out of that chef and culinary world. So Kookaroo's new owner said that they are getting all of this positive reaction, and some of the former employees want to come back, and they're volunteering, getting the word out. So during the pandemic, an investor was looking for a new project. He read that the parent company of Kookaroo was liquidating, and that's how he got into it. And after some back and forth, apparently Kookaroo may come back. Now, you want to do this now?
Let's try it.
Okay.
Is it working?
Hang. So, yeah, it's working. Okay. Oh, then we're still not hearing anything, huh? Well, I mean, you tried. Yeah. Let's try to get maybe our best people on this. Yeah. The first Kookaroo opened in 1988. I was talking about Kookaroo's coming back. And the first one opened in Koreatown. Ray and Mike Badalian opened their first Kookaroo in 1988. And sometimes at that Kookaroo, the lines were down the block to get this flame-grilled, skinless chicken that they got organized there. And it was really, you got to remember, in 1988, there wasn't this huge proliferation of fast casual. You know what I mean? That's that restaurant, that the Chipotles of the world, that's a fast casual, they call it, right? And this chain, Kookaroo, was referred to as healthier fast food. So those little things, as Crow said, the sides, the seasonings, the non-plastic flatware, they had flowers on the tables. It was somewhere, in between. And it was the beginning of that fast casual. That was Kookaroo. And they struggled financially for years, apparently. They acquired other companies, Hamburger Hamlet, Color Me Mine. I'm talking about the parent company, if you will, of Kookaroo. But the chain filed for bankruptcy in 2003. It was acquired by another company. And in 2010, that company filed for bankruptcy, and 10 Kookaroos were closed, leaving Santa Monica, Larchmont, and West Hollywood standing with the only Kookaroos. They said the rent in Southern California was super high and too high for them to maintain the business. They also said it was a competitive market and a lot of menu changes that were confusing customers. It was a bad strategy, and they just couldn't continue. So Luby's Restaurant Corporation bought Kookaroo in 2010. But even that didn't hang around because the company closed all the locations because they couldn't make ends meet. The last standing Kookaroo was in Santa Monica. That was my Kookaroo. That was my Kookaroo, and it was a sad day when I went by there, and it was a Fuddruckers. I mean, how can that happen?
Which, are they around anymore?
That's a good question. That's a Google question. I can't think of where a Fuddruckers is right now, so maybe they're not. By the time they closed, they had opened up a big menu. They were trying all kinds of things. They were flailing, really. So the clean idea, that is to say the streamlined idea that birthed Kookaroo, really got corrupted because they got desperate. So they started adding stuff to the menu, and before you knew it, it wasn't Kookaroo anymore. And they're going to try to, they say, go with their old favorites, streamline again. And chicken sandwiches, chicken plate, Caesar salad, all could very well end up on the menu, as could the sides that Crozier likes so much. And all of this, again, will debut at Chain Fest in October. It's still in the works, but Chain Fest, October 5th, could be where you get your first literal taste of Kookaroo. And then next year is when Kookaroo will reemerge.
Is this taking place at like a convention center?
I'm looking to see.
I'm fascinated by it.
I know, me too. Trader Vic's.
I'm also a little bit, I don't know, how well can we expect the food to be the same if it's a temporary setup and they're all in one place? And
Yeah, you're right. I mean, certainly well, I don't know. Some of these exhibitions, I was going to say, certainly, you're not going to have the kitchens that you would have at the real facility, but some of these exhibitions can really be pretty terrific.
Now, Fuddruckers says, according to its website, there are a bunch open still around the country, but only one in California, in Concord.
Concord is on the east bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. It's like in the suburbs, if you want to think of it as
That's the only one in the state.
Wow. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And you always wonder, I mean, it's so easy to say, well, the rent's too high and the regulations too much and the taxes too. Okay, maybe. But it might have been, I mean, the business is doing well for a while, Same setup, same regulations, same taxes. I don't know. But Kookaroo, if you want it and you're at Chain Fest, and if we can figure out where that is, we will tell you. It's in, I think, here it is. Chain Fest takes place October 5th at the Row DTLA complex in the Arts District. Tickets are $89.99 to $149.99. VIP tickets include unlimited bites.
So there's one in New York in September, and then this one here in LA is October 5th.
Yeah. In the Arts District, downtown. Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, you got to have a couple of bucks, but it sounds like it might be a fun affair if you do have a couple of bucks. But isn't everything a fun affair if you do have a couple of bucks? Yeah, it really is true.
The more bucks, the more fun.
Yeah, exactly. We come back. As I say, there is a scourge affecting Southern California communities, even upscale communities. We'll talk about that next. It's the Conway Show. Mark Thompson sitting in for Tim on KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Now, you can always hear us live on KFI AM 640, 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.